Good afternoon. So I don't have as many numbers to play with this afternoon, so we're going to go kind of quick in this presentation. Thanks for the introduction. Thanks for the opportunity, and what a wonderful room of passionate, loving, caring, energized men and women, leaders ready to make a change in the world. It's a great honor and very humbling experience to be able to be here. I have one principle I want to suggest that will interconnect everything else that I have to say this afternoon. It's a principle I believe will radically shape and mold the realization of your dreams and aspirations with respect to alleviating poverty through entrepreneurship. The principle is one of pursuing, building, cultivating authentic relationships with individuals who are entirely different from you. The linchpin in the ideas I want to lay before us today is one of delving into an unfettered, undying, and unrelenting commitment to cultivating authentic relationships with people who are so unbelievably different from you that you could never imagine, at least right now, ever having a relationship with them. My little girls have these little bead sets. I forgot I have a PowerPoint here, I think. Did you guys get that? More information for community well? Kate, how do I get to my presentation? The right arrow? Keep going. Oh, sweet. There you go. So this is an example of one of the neat little beaded necklaces. This is it right here. They put these radically colored, you can't really see it as well in the picture, but radically colored different beads and shapes and sizes, all with their individual character, and each bracelet ends up having its own unique flavor and look. And when they're all done, they're very unique and extremely beautiful. The thread of the talk this afternoon is one of cultivating authentic relationship, and I have a few beads I want us to play with that are sometimes thought not to be on the same bracelet or necklace. Theory or practice are two of the beads. Keynes or Hayek are two other of the beads. Public or private, for-profit or non-profit. Let's start with theory or practice. We're all wired uniquely different, and some of us are more inclined to be academics. We would be totally comfortable, locked up in the ivory tower of thought and reflection. Others of us are desperately, even right now, desperately beating and clawing to get out of the doors of the university, to get out of the classroom. We read academic literature with glossy eyes of utter despair, and sometimes depression. And we say to ourselves, how in the world can I ever make a difference when I cannot understand a daggone thing? Or why does this have to be so utterly confusing? And these are constant questions. And so which is it? Who am I? The odds are you are more one than the other. But regardless, allow yourself to relish in that which you are not by wedding yourself to someone who is clearly the other. You see, so many questions needing reflection are all the more nuanced in the crucible of practice. And an academic who is cloistered from relationships with practitioners will always be pontificating about questions disconnected from reality. So many activists are only engaged with supposed theorists who are merely robed in pretend academic garments. Hence, insult is added to injury. Authentic engagement with academics, dead or alive, would give greater insight and healthy focus to one's activism and practice of doing good. And so, of course, it's both the bead of theory and the bead of practice that we can put on our little bracelet to make significant progress in alleviating poverty through entrepreneurship. What about Keynes or Hayek? And I should just add a little disclaimer here. No questions about Keynes or Hayek, okay? Because I'm not a PhD in economics, nor do I have a master's in economics. I've done some kindergarten reading in these guys. But what I want us to do is imagine an approach to creatively thinking of how we can collectively work together to create a new economy that embraces and realizes the best of economic theories. Economic theory is so often thought of as diametrically opposed. Imagine an economic theory that stretches beyond borders and encompasses global poverty in new and dynamic ways. I mentioned only two popular economists who are so often cited and pitted against each other, and of course they had very different and contradictory views in a lot of ways. But my question is one of imagination. Where is the creativity? Why do we need to be so simple as to ride the vanity bandwagon of ignorantly choosing one or the other, instead of looking for ways to creatively integrate and synthesize the best of ideas? For most of us, this is a theoretic exercise we dare not step into. But the irony is many of us choose one or the other with little thought as to why, or perhaps more importantly, with even less thought on how opposing economic theories might inform new ideas and concepts, which might revolutionize and alter our frame of reference and code of conduct. And so I would suggest that we not change our mind too quickly if we find ourselves in one camp or the other. That should never be an easy process. I'm not saying that we shouldn't necessarily fall into one camp or the other. What I am suggesting is radically pursuing a relationship with someone whose view of economics and the way the world turns is so different from our own that we're shocked that we can actually have a conversation. And from such relationships, learn, grow, and allow a new way of thinking and engaging to evolve, or at the very least, allow ourselves to better understand the other view, at least the other view from a certain perspective. I believe such relationships will give rise to entrepreneurs who are unlike any that we've ever seen before. So, go ahead and throw Keynes and Hayek next to each other. You might want to put a couple beads in between, but put them on the same bracelet. Public or private? What do we have to say of the public or private responsibility in addressing poverty? Is it the role of government, or is it the role of the private market? Might be another way to ask the question. Are we really so unaware that both entities consist of individuals marked with a diversity of opinions and motives, often with inclinations driven negatively by power and greed, positively by service and love? The irony, you see, in a democracy at least, is that we are both. We are both the market and the public. We are. We decide how the market behaves because we are the market. We decide how the public regulates because we are the public. We decide how the market engages and how the public supports. It sounds somewhat simplistic, and perhaps it is, but building authentic relationships with those who have a view of things that incline them toward a free market and free enterprise approach to everyday life might actually shake you free from the false caricatures advocated by popular media outlets that such individuals are simply stuck-up, greedy assholes. It might just shake you from that perception. Now, some might very well be. It might be overly simple. But building an authentic relationship with someone you consider to be a tree-hugger communist might allow you to learn something more of what motivates and inspires a person with such a view of the world. So let's go ahead and put private and public on our creative bracelet that we're working on. Finally, for-profit or nonprofit. You see, the mindset of someone who works in a for-profit business is typically pretty straightforward. It's about the bottom line. Make money, increase that net margin, maximize it as much as possible, regardless of what obstacles might be in your way. The mindset of someone in the social services sector or working in the nonprofit sector that's working in addressing alleviating poverty provides services to people in need. That's the nonprofit sector's mindset so often. Is one better than the other? Should I pursue a career, you might ask, in social services or in business? Why do these need to be put in opposition to one another, as if it's necessary to have a choice between one or the other? Perhaps more straightforward, why do we need to insist on a very boring approach to business that's only focused on one bottom line? Boring! I mean, are you serious? Who can't do that? That's crazy boring. Why do we need to continue to see resources drained in decades-old social service programs characterized by bureaucratic, non-metric driven, disempowering, and ineffective results filled with waste, duplicative services, and services disconnected from dealing with real people in real situations, in real communities, in holistic ways. I can think of no better way to escape the common dilemma of choosing one or the other than that of building relationships with those who are more inclined to one or the other. Maybe more practically, if you're a business major, perhaps pursue a minor in social services. If you're a social services major, perhaps pursue a minor in business or economics. If you're a music major, take some classes in public policy and entrepreneurship. If you're a philosophy major, take a deep dive into marketing. Kate, a beautiful example. The person that's holding my hand to make sure I don't get lost around here. International studies major, economics minor, and studying Arabic. Whoa, that's amazing. Follow that example. Forging greater synthesis will over time allow us to see more efficient and sustainable ways of addressing key issues intertwined with the complex reality of poverty. And so with all of these beads, it boils down to you and another. I remember when I first moved to Chicago with my family, it was my wife and I at the time, and little John. I didn't know what poverty was like in K-Town on the west side. I grew up in Winfield, West Virginia. My dad and I lived in a trailer park. I knew what redneck poverty was. We all have cardboard boxes in our little trailer. I knew that. Played with little cowboys and Indians, shot them down with rubber bands. But when we moved to K-Town, I didn't know what that meant. And so I went with the guys. We hung out in the alleys. We played basketball. I slept in the alleys with these guys and these gals, and I learned as best that I could what was poverty like in K-Town. Because I knew unless I had authentic, genuine relationships existentially, I needed to get it so I could ask the right questions, at least learn to begin to ask some of the right questions. As you examine and think and create and pursue entrepreneurial ways of alleviating poverty, cultivate authentic relationships with those who are radically different than you. But in the process of pursuing such relationships, engage and marry those who are in poverty. The odds are, if you're in this room, the radically other person right now is selling herself at Broad and Central for the next hit. The radically other is the young man with a crackhead mother and an imprisoned father. The radically other is the veteran at Bollinger Tower right down the street on High Street who is alone and desperate for love. The radically other is right around the corner, even as he or she is one of the thousands leaving Syria as a refugee. The radically other is one of thousands of young ladies prostituted, traded in the sex trafficking trade globally. You see, yes, pursue and build relationships with those who are practitioners and theorists. Pursue and build relationships with people with diverse economic theories. Pursue and build relationships in the private and public, nonprofit, for-profit sectors. But in all of your authentic relationship pursuits, find one person who characterizes the market you are looking to serve, that you're looking to serve through your entrepreneurial dreams and aspirations, and experience more of that ancient, complicated, yet infinitely beautiful idea called love. Build, grow, and cultivate authentic relationships with those radically different from you. And allow this to stir your entrepreneurial dreams of making our world a better place. Create a beautiful, dynamic bracelet. Be creative. Go outside your comfort zone. Cultivate those authentic relationships. And grow in your awareness of what it means to be a man or a woman, pursuing and wanting to live and understand dynamic and authentic love. Thank you.